Hello, welcome to City Theater Live. Thanks for joining us. And it's another day in COVID pandemic, so we are working hard. It's been a busy week, and I just wanted to check in and give you some updates and talk about some things we have in the hopper and that we're working on. So, of course, in the recent days, we did a show must go online reading of Life-Changing Magic by Olivia O'Connor, and in partnership with our friends at City of Asylum. It was our first reading for the Momentum New Play Festival, which has gone virtual this year, of course, and it was just really wonderful to be in a rehearsal room, be it a virtual rehearsal room, and seeing director Montez Freeland giving notes and talking to actors, making choices about how to interpret a new play, making that play better, we think. And it was a wonderful experience. We had more than 150 people tune in for the reading on Wednesday night. We were thrilled with the attendance. People donated. People were so generous in their comments and their virtual applause at the end of the performance. We really encourage you to join us again next Wednesday. And we have several other Momentum New Play Festival events in the coming month and a half or so. We're looking forward to all of those, and you can check our website and check the website for City of Asylum on the Show Must Go Online page to find out what's in store, both for City Theater and for other Pittsburgh arts organizations. We also, in the last week, shared some In Their Own Voices videos from Rob Zellers and Brandy and Carey. It was really refreshing and wonderful, and we're very grateful to the writers in the Pittsburgh area who have shared their early work by reading it themselves, and it gives you a glimpse into the creative process. We want to encourage all of our audience members and our friends to support artists in this time, to find a way to keep art growing and alive. It's really interesting how many artists now are responding in creative ways, not just using Zoom and Facebook Live platforms, but making audio recordings of their plays or using digital content in different ways, YouTube videos, other kinds of ways that artists are finding a way to be creative and to get their work out there, and sometimes to begin to monetize this work in this new reality, to find ways to connect with audiences, sometimes local, sometimes national, sometimes global. It's very important that we support the art and the artists who are the backbone of our creative life. And I think also, just personally, I'm a person who believes in empathy and the importance of empathy in the world today. And artists are the source of that inspiration for me, and I think for many people. So stay connected, keep with us, and we're going to continue to put our work online in this format until we can gather again together and be together and breathe the same air, which used to be a good thing and now is a dangerous thing. So we're going to be careful as we begin to approach the potential of reopening, and we're only going to do it in the most safe way possible. And there'll be more to come about that as the authorities issue guidelines and we get creative ourselves about what we can do with the realities that we have. So that said, I'd like to welcome a guest, Alex Condron, who is our board president at City Theater. There you are, Alex. Hi.
Here. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Thanks for zooming in. I thought it would be interesting for our viewers to know a little bit more about the support that City Theater has from within and around the community, and the leadership that's been exhibited by yourself and by others in the community to make sure that City Theater finds a good way to navigate these very challenging times. And before we get into all the nuts and bolts of that, I wanted to just get a little bit of a background on you and how you became connected with City Theater.
Sure. Well, I had the fortune of finding City Theater at a joyous time in my life. My wife of 21 years now and I started dating during your first tenure as artistic director there in the late 90s, and we were invited by friends who were season subscribers, and the husband served a time on the City Theater board, to start attending shows with them. And that connection and that touch point has just remained ever since. We just fell in love with the place. Honestly, knew very little about it coming in, and after a few experiences, realized the level of art, the level of production, performance, everything that went into those performances, and have stayed connected ever since. So that was the initial entry into the City Theater world.
So basically, it was date night.
It was date night, yeah. Back when we were always trying to look for things off the beaten path. You know, you could go to so many movies, you can go to so many dinners, but you know, the thrill of live theater have always had strong interest in film and music, and had seen shows on Broadway, and always thought that was something that you did in New York. You know, hey, let's go see a Broadway show, and realized that we in Pittsburgh had such a strong resource of theater, of new and interesting stories and new and interesting voices, that it was an eye opener, an eye and ear opener.
That's great. I'm really thrilled that City Theater could play a small role in the development of your marriage.
and it's still there. It's a very
Yeah, that's true.
strong
I
point.
actually one time we did a play back in the '90s. It was a play by David Mamet called Oleana, which was a tinderbox of a play, and people would get into arguments after they saw that play. It was really an early play that dealt with sexual harassment,
Right,
and from a somewhat misogynist point of view, many
right.
believe. But I remember hearing from a guy who actually was a woman who told me in a long letter that that they got divorced as a result of having seen a play at City Theater, because they got into such a fight after watching this play, that it was, I think it was just the last straw, and maybe we weren't entirely responsible. But I'm glad to know that we can also have a role to play in the beginning of a relationship as well.
Sure, I suppose the moral is generally positive, because you know, one of the things that we love is the 5:30 Saturday show, because you go out. We tend to go with a group of friends. It's rarely just my wife and I, but we go with a group of friends, and we do that. And we go to dinner and we talk about the show, the subject matter, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it. And to me, that's about as perfect a Saturday evening as you can spend. So.
Oh, that's great. And so what are some of the plays that you've talked about that you remember, or that made an impact for you?
Well, I mean, with my time on the board, going back 20 years, we'd see maybe 2 shows a season, maybe 3. And given, the past 7 years I've been on the board, I've had a chance to see uh, most, if not all of them. I mean, I have vivid memories of watching the inimitable Billy Porter in Top Dog Underdog, a role that is as un-Billy Porter-esque, I guess, as you can imagine, and just always hold that dear that I saw such a giant talent, kind of back in the day. Another great talent, Anthony Rapp. I saw him in Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and just that was literally one of the most fun hours and a half I've ever spent in the theater, because he ad-libbed a lot of stuff. He was so present with the audience. And Mark, I think for me, the thing that's really fun is, when I see every show in a season, or, I read about the background, I read about the story, and I always have set in my mind, oh, I have to see that one. And this is the one I'm most excited to see. And invariably, usually those deliver, but there's always a sleeper. There's always one that just knocks me on my heels that I wasn't ready for. A couple years ago, we had the Royale. That's a play that I still think about to this day. Some Brighter Distance, I think from the same season, just went in thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting at the very least, and just came out of it with just a grander appreciation for the subject matter, and what it is City Theater stages.
That's terrific. And then, gradually you got pulled into a role on the board, and ultimately as president of the board of City Theater. Could you just speak to that transition, and how and why you said yes when you were approached to participate?
Well, like a lot of other things, I was solicited by a friend of mine to join a board who was also board president, Dave Massaro. And he invited me to lunch, and I knew what he was going to ask me, and I was very pleased to to go to lunch and to talk about it, because it was always an organization I hoped to become more involved in, learn more about. I'd served on a couple of other nonprofit boards, one educational for university, one medical, and I hadn't been acclimated. I didn't know how theater worked. I didn't know how actually most arts organizations work, and was fascinated by that opportunity. And since then, becoming more involved and stepping up as the president, I've come to appreciate the quality and responsibility of this particular board. Arts organizations, I'm always amazed at how they spend a dollar, and frankly, how much they get out of a dollar. We run hand to mouth most of the time financially, as a lot of nonprofits do, but it's a rewarding experience to see that collaborative effort, not only behind the scenes among the staff, which is second to none, but getting an appreciation for how this particular board can step up and kind of fill in gaps as needed to steer the organization into the future, especially right now. I think everybody is really thinking, really putting on their thinking caps beyond, the norm to steer us down a good path, so that we can get through this on the backside and emerge from it as good
Yeah,
as we will.
there's nothing like a good crisis to get a board to sit up, pay attention, and get involved, I guess.
Right, that's true. I mean, everybody, you join a board, you think, okay, this is going to either look good on my resume, or, oh, they're going to throw a great annual party. It's an arts organization, and all that, as true as it is, I think the perspectives from a lot of people that have varying backgrounds. There are a lot of people in the board from all walks of life, all different specialties, and I love problem solving in that kind of arena, where you have everybody approaching these things from a different perspective, and yet really good at coming to concise resolutions.
It's been it's been interesting. I don't no one expected this, obviously, but the reaction of our board in particular has been so inspiring, not just to me but to the entire staff, and I think many of the artists who've gotten to know the board over the years. They see that the board is there for us, and the board is contributing, and the board is involved in decision making, and the board is reviewing our finances and helping us to make decisions about how we proceed in this challenging time. And I'm very grateful for your leadership, Alex, and for that of so many people on our board. And I just wanted audiences and our community here through this medium to understand how critical it is that we have community support as we begin to navigate our way through and find a path towards reopening eventually.
Well, I appreciate that, and appreciate the sentiments. I think the board, in a lot of organizations, a lot of the effort of the staff can be in basically maintaining the board. If we kind of run, awry in how we're working with the organization, we have a great symmetry here with the staff. Everybody on the board just is amazed at what the staff accomplishes in short order. And to anybody out there listening to this, this particular staff and our leadership has been just beyond exceptional. I mean, beyond standard operating procedure, and getting us to this step and seeing us through to the future. So thank you.
Well, it's now a cliche, but we're all in it together.
All together.
So we just do the best we can day to day, make decisions based on whatever reality presents itself, and try to think ahead enough to be creative in the moment, and to still be around when this thing subsides and we can start to reconvene again. Thank you, Alex. It's really great of you to take some time and join us on CT Live. And I hope you have a safe day and a happy day. apparently the weather's great today, so let's enjoy it for what it is. And at this point, I want to bring on Nikki Battistelli, who's going to talk a little bit about some good news.
Yeah, so this week on our Things We Love, we're spotlighting another board member, Judy Chichayan, saying that wrong. Another City Theater board member has offered a $5,000 challenge grant, and she will match any donation up to $5,000 that's made during this week's momentum reading. So a huge thank you to her for that. And also thank you to our viewers. As Mark mentioned earlier, we had donations coming in last week. We brought in $495 during this week's momentum reading that will be matched. So thank you for everyone who has donated and supported us during this time.
Thanks, everyone. It's great that you could join us for this CT Live, and the show will continue as we navigate our way through. I want to thank Claire Drobot, who's been working very, very hard in behind the scenes and in front of the scenes to keep our content going, to keep the artists and the community engaged, and the rest of the City Theater staff who's working hard through this period of time. Thank you all for tuning in with us. I guess that's what you do when you join a live stream event, but for joining us. And for now, that's it for CT Live this week. Thank you so much.